Zed Seselja is the Assistant Finance Minister. He is helping both the Treasurer and the Finance Minister and the Prime Minister put together this massive JobKeeper payment. We had a chance to chat to him in Canberra just a little bit ago about how it works, how you apply, and how it's really important that the tax office is involved in this as a way of stopping rorting. Your calls on the other side, 1300 30 34 35. Here's Zed Seselja.
Obviously, these are extraordinary times and they call for extraordinary measures, and that's what the Australian government announced yesterday. And so we're not surprised that there is very strong demand, because there are parts of our economy that have been hit very, very hard. First, of course, we saw it when we saw travel shutdowns and the like in particular industries, but we know that in more recent times it has hit large chunks of the economy. So we want to do all we reasonably can to keep people in jobs where possible, to keep them connected to their employers, to keep businesses in business, so that in the coming months, as we get over this health crisis, which we will be able to bounce back quickly and bounce back in the strongest possible way.
Last night we took literally an hour's worth of calls in Better Call Paul from businesses with lots of different questions. I won't hold you to all of those, but a couple that I do want to ask you about and get directly from somebody who's inside the system and putting this thing together. For sole traders, if you're a sole trader, are you able to get access to the JobKeeper because you are the one who wants to hold on to the job? And if so, how do you prove that business is down 30%? Is it 30% month on month, year on year, quarter on quarter?
The answer is yes. Sole traders are eligible for the JobKeeper payment, and so obviously the person in the job would be the sole trader. And in terms of the 30% reduction in turnover, it's for a comparable period. So it would have to be for a period of at least a month, but it would be compared to a comparable period. So the ATO, I think, will be very sensible in how it deals with these things. Obviously, there is sometimes a little bit of estimation that goes on if people are casting forward, but the ATO will use their discretion carefully. Obviously, they will be looking out for those who might try and do the wrong thing in a fraudulent way, but where people are trying to do the right thing and they can demonstrate that over a comparable period they've seen a 30% reduction, then they will be eligible.
Also, the charity sector and the non-profit sector. This is an area that I know you've been working very hard on. It's really important for all the talk about, well-known, famous businesses. There are some pretty well-known and famous people who we just expect to be there in times of trouble. But the truth is, it doesn't happen magically. They've got to pay some of the people who work for them. How does JobKeeper work in those areas?
Well, it works in exactly the same way. And so one of the things, I know the charity sector were very pleased when we announced that charities and not-for-profits would be eligible in the same way that businesses are. Now, the charity sector employs around 1 million Australians. So quite aside from the very important work they do, and at a time like this and during the recent bushfire crisis, of course, we rely on our charities to be helping people in grave need. They are also an important part of our economy. So those 1 million Australians who work in the sector are important to us. They're an important part of our economy and they do important work. So if you are a charity or a not-for-profit, the same rules apply up to the $1 billion. If it's 30% reduction in turnover, over $1 billion in turnover, a 50% reduction. If you fit within that category, then you would be eligible for the JobKeeper payment. And that's very important. I spoke to some charities yesterday ahead of this announcement who were very, very close to shutting up shop in a number of states and territories. These are significant charities, and I've heard back from them just what a difference the JobKeeper payment will mean. It will mean that they can continue to do their work, continue to employ people and continue to serve our community.
Excellent stuff to hear. Now, also the decision to sort of push this through the tax office, it's different than, say, other programs in the past, the sort of T-shirt cannon approach to stimulus or support for people. By making it a system that you have to register for rather than the government just sends you, is that how we keep fraud out of this? Look, someone somewhere is going to try and take advantage, but by trying to apply, basically, if you apply and lie, those are a series of crimes in and of themselves.
Well, that's absolutely right. And unfortunately, whenever you have programs like this, there are a minority who will seek to take advantage of it in a fraudulent way. Anyone acting in good faith here has nothing to fear. But going through the ATO, we said right throughout this process that we want to build on existing systems rather than reinvent them. Because if you reinvent and if you come up with new systems, there is a much greater time lag and there is a much greater chance of failure. We know the systems with the ATO, we know how they work. The one-touch payroll system has been in place, and so that enables us to get the money out quickly, to get it where it's most needed, and of course to monitor it in circumstances where people may seek to do the wrong thing.